Well, guys, the new Omicron mutation that sounds like a Decepticon from the Transformers cartoon years ago is apparently not something we need to worry about. This is according to Professor Whitty last night. He is saying it's less worrying than the Delta variant, and shutting down borders to Africa is all they need to do, which, let's be honest, is completely pointless, but I suppose it makes it look like they're doing something. Now, of course, this is Chris Whitty we're talking about here, the guy who stood on national TV last year feeding us out-of-date figures he knew was wrong to push us into another lockdown. You might remember the 4,000 deaths a day winter lockdown data that was literally proven fake within minutes of them saying it, yet the lockdown went ahead anyway, as you know. Now it seems though he's taking a different stance, likely because, as he admits, the public ain't in the mood for listening to these clowns anymore. This is something I've been saying for a while now because I'm seeing it not only online but also in real life every single day. People who dogmatically supported the government narrative are now dead against it after doing all that they've asked, only for the goalpost to be moved once again. But on top of that, other scientists are coming out calling Omicron a storm in a teacup and something that so far might cause a runny nose and a headache, so essentially common cold-like symptoms. Quick guys, you better soil yourselves in fear over this one. Now obviously, as we know, we've got the other ones that are saying the opposite, but we gotta trust the science, though I'm not sure which one we're supposed to trust here. Either way though, one professor in this article rightly points out that antibodies and escaping them means literally jack shit, which is what people seem to be focusing on at the moment. As many of you will know, the body has T-cell and other immune system functions that actually provide broader and better protection than antibodies themselves. The antibodies are there when you're actually infected and for a short time after. T-cells on the other hand are memory immunity as far as I'm aware. This, as you know, is something the media love to ignore, but they are what has literally kept us alive since the start of humanity. Oh, and naturally the usual commies in Sage have demanded more restrictions, something we're gonna go through in a moment. First though, let's deal with Chris Whitty, and this headline we've got here, new COVID variant is less worrying than Delta, says Professor Chris Whitty. Here it says the Delta variant is of greater concern to the UK than the new COVID mutation, England's chief medical officer has said amid rising international fears about the Omicron strain. Professor Chris Whitty said ministers were right to take precautionary border measures to slow the arrival into Britain, but he warned that any attempt to impose more muscular restrictions could lose public support and suggested concern was best focused on more immediate threats. Which obviously there goes back to what I said in the introduction, that people ain't gonna listen to it, and maybe these tosspots are starting to realise. At the end of the day, the public are not what they was last year. They're much more awake, and also they're completely bloody sick of this shit. They're sick of the constant fear porn, constant bullshit, and constant lies from government. This we all got sick of pretty quickly, but it seems a lot more people around the country, including, like I said, the ones that actually support what they are doing, are now sick of it as well. The government knows the people ain't gonna go for it, and they're spending Christmas with their family regardless of what they say. Now here it goes on about a load of business shit, which to be honest I don't really care about and I'm not going through. It goes on Friday, the World Health Organization designated B1.15.29 or whatever the fuck it's called a variant of concern and labelled it Omicron, you know, a Decepticon from the fucking Transformers. Scientists fear the variant's high number of mutations could mean that it can evade vaccines. However, other experts sought to reassure the public, with one Oxford scientist saying the new variant was not doomsday, which is bloody obvious to anyone. And here it talks about what Professor Whitty said above, and I've already read literally similar shit to what he's saying there, so I'm not reading it again. Here it states this comes amid calls from scientists for Britain to embark on the government's Plan B winter restrictions. Professor Whitty said, "My greatest worry at the moment is if we need to do something more muscular at some point, whether it's for the current new variant or at some later stage, can we still take people with us? Which I will answer now, no, you ain't gonna take a lot of people with you anymore. In fact, maybe it's the majority now that are not gonna listen to the bullshit that yous lot come out with. At the end of the day, you've lied to them so much, can you really blame them at this point?" Here it goes on. Sir John Bell, one of the government's most senior advisors on vaccines, said the new variant may end up causing no more than runny noses and headaches in those who have been vaccinated. Sir John, the Professor of Medicine at the University of Oxford, said that while the new variant might evade antibodies, it would be less likely to escape T-cells and other parts of the immune system that provide broader protection. So I'd argue, even if you're not unvaccinated and have caught coronavirus before, then surely you would be protected against it as well, based on T-cell and other immune systems like he said. Here he goes on, you could still have a highly infectious virus that scoots around and causes a lot of trouble, but causes lots of, runny noses and headaches but doesn't put people into hospital. Honestly, you could live with that, I think he said. Which obviously, yes you could, because isn't that the common cold symptoms if I'm not mistaken? On Friday, Dr. Angelique Coetzee, who chairs the South African Medical Association, described the travel restrictions imposed on the country as hasty, and the reactions from other countries as a storm in a teacup. Dr. Coetzee asked why everyone was so up in arms and said so far what we have seen is very mild cases, so like she said, literally a fucking storm in a teacup. Obviously though, we know it's all about the fear porn and pushing out the narrative more and more. The WHO are definitely helping to push this one, it's gotta be said. Here it says Professor James Naismith, the director of Rosalind Franklin Institute, told BBC Radio 4's Today programme that vaccines and new treatments for COVID meant that developments were bad news but not doomsday. Which once again, yes, obviously it's not fucking doomsday. We could have told you that from over the past 2 years and the fact that we're all still alive. Here it talks about a bunch of other countries putting in shit. I'm not worried about that. Let's get down to where we've seen these fucking commies going on about it here. Government advisors are calling for new domestic restrictions to be brought in to help limit any potential spread. Professor Sharon Peacock, the director of COG UK, which monitors new variants for the government, said there are two approaches to what happens next. Wait for more scientific evidence, or act now and row back later if it wasn't required. No, the only one is to wait for more evidence, you tosspot. She goes on, I believe that it's better to go hard, go early and go fast and apologise if mistaken than to take an academic view that we need to reach a tipping point in evidence before action is taken. No, because lockdowns and shit like that cause people a lot more damage than this virus is likely to do to them. You absolute bloody lunatic, you need to get your head out of your arse. And here we have the old commie Professor Susan Mitchie from the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, SAGE the Tosspots. She called for immediate restrictions, including encouraging everyone to work from home where possible and wear face masks indoors, so essentially back to 2020. Why is it everyone ran around and got you jabbed then if you're saying that? Another one here asked whether Plan B restrictions should be enacted before the new variant got a foothold in Britain. Professor John Edmonds of the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine said, it always helps to get on top of things early. No, because the damage of getting on top of things early could well be more than the damage of what happens. This is something we're going to see following all of the lockdowns in 2020 and 2021, let's be honest. In fact, are we not seeing it now with excess deaths, waiting lists and all of that shit there? So essentially, you've got Professor Whitty saying that we shouldn't be that worried about it and we should worry about other things while admitting that the public ain't gonna listen. Then you got the usual commies in Sage coming out demanding harder and faster lockdowns and all that bollocks. The only thing surprising about this is the fact that Chris Whitty has admitted that the public ain't gonna go with him. They've lost consent, as I've been saying for a bloody long time now.